Hey everybody, it's Justin from Built, and I had a viewer ask me what would be a good beginner pocket hole jig to buy. And I said, let me think about it. And I said, let's make a video about it. Let's look at what pocket hole joinery is, what its use cases are for, and then we'll look at some of the different types of form factors of pocket hole jigs, because the form factor is for different types of projects, of course. Pocket hole joinery is definitely a super beginner friendly type of joinery where you join two boards together. So we're going to look at the manual beginner to intermediate type of stuff. We're going to ignore the high-end expensive machines that professionals would use. This is for the everyday user, the home shop type of person, the beginner to intermediate woodworker. So let's take a look at pocket hole jigs. Today on Built. Pocket hole joinery is very closely related to a construction term called toe nailing. When they're framing out a house, you can toe nail. A nail going in at a 30-degree angle is typically what you're looking for with this one. If you have the nail straight up and down like this, you could easily wiggle this board in either direction. But when you have it going in at a diagonal like this, it gives it a lot more of a secure hold with the two pieces of wood, really hindering that type of movement. Okay, so I just put in one nail straight, and so when I move it, see how I could easily move it in either direction, basically taking it right out. All right, let's try the toenail now. Notice that even with the nail here, I have the nail head sticking out, or I'm gonna mark up the wood. Now, I can still get it. But I'm more going to break that wood before that gives way. So it is a much stronger joint than the previous straight up and down nail was. So let's say we wanted to try toe nailing with a screw. Let's see what happens. I was able to get it in there. The head of the screw is still poking out. This is something that, because it's poking out like this, I would have a hard time hiding it if I was making a finished product for a customer. So that is a concern. Now, from a strength standpoint, very good as well. I'm going to break the wood in the same way, most likely. So it more tore out than the nail coming out or the screw coming out. You can definitely also make this a much stronger joint as well. If you're going in from both sides, then you have a pretty strong bond there. Pocket hole jigs enable you to put a 15-degree angled pocket into the wood so that when you go to put your screw in, it has a nice secure place to start off. It will guide it in at the 15-degree angle, and it will also make it to where we can hide it after the fact. So for this particular jig, I am able to lock it into place. And then I use a specialized drill bit that comes with this jig to then go inside one of these guides. And I can use multiple of these guides depending on the material that I'm using. And it will guide it in at a 15-degree angle to the appropriate height based on the size of the material. I've cut open a pocket hole so you can see it from the inside. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to use an 3/8 inch drill bit that has an 11/64 tip. The drill bit is going to come in and stop before the end of the piece of wood, so it's basically making a large pocket for the screw to come in and sit, but it is also making this very small channel that's about the thickness of the screw. The point of that is so that when you insert your screw, it's going to be guided by that channel at the correct angle into the wood here. You also have this little lip that is created by the change in diameter of the drill bit, and so it grabs onto this wood very securely and pulls it down into our second piece of wood below it. As I screw this in, you'll notice that it will disappear inside the pocket. And so this is a good method if you are doing if you have to affix things together but it's in a visible spot. This pocket, though, is unsightly and we need to get rid of it. So we can use things like these pre-made plugs that you just slide into the pocket and then you can cut away the excess or sand it away. You could fill it with wood putty. You could stick a dowel in it and then take a flush cut saw and just cut the dowel away. There's a lot of different options. You could even use a different species of wood and make it obvious that there is a color change between the main piece and whatever is filling in right here. There's a lot of options, and it is really easy to make this go away. It's incredibly important to clamp these pieces together when you're attaching pocket hole joinery together. Because we're driving in at an angle, it's forcing these two pieces of wood together, but again, in this direction. We're going to the left right now. So I'm going to gently hold this piece of wood down, but I'm not going to clamp it. You can see that I have these lines running between the two. Let's see what happens right now. So as you can see, the lines are not matched up anymore. This is called drift, where it drifted in that direction. It's very important that you clamp down these work pieces so that does not happen. Let's go ahead and look at all of these pocket hole jigs now. All of these are my own, or I purchased them with my own money, with the exception of the Going Make one. That one was given to me for this video, so I always disclose when somebody gives me something. My most popular video on YouTube gets about 100,000 views every month. It was on 14 cheap tools on Amazon. I'll link it down below if you haven't seen it before. Everybody loves a good cheap tool, right? And most of that video was Going Make. I'm a big fan of theirs now because they make high quality aluminum tools that are affordable. So just want to let you know that one was provided to me for this video. First up, we have the Kreg 310 for $21.99, no clamp, and the Kreg R3 for $34.99, no clamp. So why did I start with two Kreg products? Well, Kreg is the big name in pocket hole joinery. There are a lot of Kreg products, so you'll see even more of them in this video as well. And these are the cheapest options. In addition, these are the portable options. So these are not mounted to a workbench. These are loose. Now, I mentioned in the intro for both of these that they did not include a clamp. And you must use a clamp in order to use them. So there could be an added cost in there. Of course, you can use any clamp that you already own, but of course Kreg makes a clamp specifically for it. It has this big circle right on here that will clip onto this one, and now they're kind of attached together, so it makes it a little bit more convenient, but I wanted to note that. With these, you get all the functionality of pocket hole joinery. So if you are price constrained, these are a good option for you. Once you get into pocket hole joinery, though, these become inconvenient. The clamp, it's just unwieldy compared to a workbench mounted unit. So I own both of these. I've had both of these for probably 2 years. I can't remember the last time I pulled this one out. If I have to grab a mobile one, it's going to be this one with the 2 barrels on it as opposed to 1. It also has 9 D10ths for length, thickness of material versus just 3 on this one. So this one's a little more limited in its functionality. The good use for these, even though I primarily use a bench one, the reason that I will pull this out is if I have to go to the workpiece. Let's say, for example, I'm assembling a cabinet. I already have most of it put together. And then I discover that, oops, I forgot to put 2 pocket holes where I needed them. And that has happened, of course. And do I take this entire piece apart just to be able to get it back into one of my workbench mounted machines? Or do I just take this over to it, clamp it in place, and do the pocket hole right there on the workpiece? That is the value for me on one of these. So even if you do end up buying one of the more expensive ones, having one of these mobile ones is very handy as well in the long run. Next up, we have the ESO pocket hole jig for $18.97 on Amazon. I chose this model as it was one of the cheapest out there on Amazon. It is of aluminum construction. It is a benchtop model, so you have 4 holes down here on the bottom to screw it to your benchtop. Doesn't have any form of dust collection, but it does have a whole bunch of holes here to allow the dust to kind of get out. It has a clamp built into it, which, you know, that's good. We're moving in the right direction. The only problem is you have to screw it in every single time. So when you are working with this type of machine, you're going to do your hole, move it. Do your hole, move it. So every single time you're going to have to tighten and untighten. I think this would get a little bit tiring. I would much prefer just a one-handed clamp or a clamp mechanism on it. So there's one thing I can't really wrap my head around is that it is only one depth. Now, in the instructions, they say that you can twist this collar and raise it up so that you can get a different height, but we're really only getting a 1/4 of an inch rise on here. So maybe we're able to do 1/2 inch and then 1/4 inch, 3/4 inch material with this. But then with the drill bit that they provide with the collar, you're attaching the collar down in the actual fluting of the drill bit, which is a horrible place for that. It's going to slip a little bit. These collars will move as you impact right here. And so I see this immediately moving, and then my drill bit's going to go into the aluminum here, damaging the drill bit, damaging the thing. So I think they need to rethink the drill bit a little bit better and go solid all the way down. Next up, we have the Kreg 520 Pro for $99. So this Kreg 520 Pro, this is a really interesting one to me. I think this is a very interesting form factor in that it has a rotating handle. It has a built-in pumped clamp mechanism with one trigger recoil on it. So it makes it really easy for me to just clamp it onto something, release it, and take it away again. So that's pretty cool. It only has 3 D10 settings, so 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1.5 inch. So it doesn't have a whole lot of variability, though those are the 3 main measurements that a typical person would be dealing with. It doesn't have dust collection on it. It does have the capability of being mounted clamped to a table temporarily, and it can be used in this orientation or this orientation. What is good about that is if you're using like a big sheet good, you don't want to stand it up and it be, it's trying to fall down all over the place. You want to lay it down on the table and just slide it in. So this does allow for that. My feelings on it, though, is this is not a beginner's tool. This was not designed for beginner. If you are a beginner getting your very first pocket hole jig, I think you would be better served with that R3. That had 9 different material settings on there. It's a lot cheaper. This is $99. Or moving up the ladder to one of the next 2 that I'm going to show you that are more all-encompassing. This, to me, is kind of a specialty one, but a very, very cool form factor. For somebody like me, this is a cool add-on, but for a beginner buying their first one, I don't think this is the one for you. The going make model moves us over to a benchtop mounted. So this one has holes in the milled aluminum frame that allow you to mount it to a board or to the table itself. Being that this is all milled aluminum with exception the dust port is plastic, this is a very rugged, robust tool that's not going to be breaking on you anytime soon. It has a built-in area for setting your collar on your drill bit, so you just set it to the depth that you need to go. The built-in clamping mechanism is pretty nice, but you do have to set it. So if I'm going to be working with 3/4 inch material all day, I'll be able to set this, and then every single time I put in a new piece or move my piece, it will go back to the same spot. However, if I do change the thickness of my materials, I will have to reset this every time. The interesting one on this too is you get a 2-for-1 deal with this model. So in addition to this being a bench top, you can unscrew the 2 finger screws here. Take this out, we'll move this to the side, and now we have an additional bracket that we can slide this back into and reinsert the finger screws. Now we have a portable small compact model like I was showing with the previous Kreg ones built into this one. So this is a nice feature. You get the small compact, but you also get the benchtop model. And so you're able to move this in and out. It will grab onto a piece of material to position it correctly. That's pretty nice. And this is milled aluminum as well. Also on this and on the benchtop model, you'll see that you are scribed in both imperial and metric, depending on the side that you're looking at. So it's good fun for everybody. A small complaint that I have on this model is if I'm using it in the benchtop configuration and I'm using small pieces of wood, which is a lot of what you're using pocket holes for, this is fine. The location of the lever being back here, not a big deal. But when you move up to a sheet good Now it presents a problem because it's inconvenient to reach to. However, anything over this size of material you really shouldn't be using in a vertical situation because you risk it falling over. It's going to be unwieldy. So in any case, you should be using this flat on the table. So when you are going to be using sheet goods, you would just take this off, put it in the other one, and you're going to have to clamp it down individually around the large piece of ply as you go. But that's probably the way you should be doing it anyway. Putting it up in that unstable position is not a good idea. The Going Make has a 3-port configuration for your drill bits to insert, and of course it has the dust collector on here, and you don't realize how important this is until you put a whole bunch of pocket holes on a board and pick it up in the air and all the sawdust goes all over you. So utilizing the dust collection port is a benefit when doing pocket holes. Lastly, we have the Kreg 720 for $114.99, and we also have the 720 Pro model for $149.99. The 720 has been my personal one that I've been using around the shop for about a year now. I had the K5 model before it, which broke, which then prompted me to buy this new one. So far, it has worked very well. This is a benchtop mounted if you want it to be, but it also has some modularity to it, which is nice. The big features of this is that it has a very large paddle in the front for its clamp. So I can put a piece of wood in here, press down, it will then clamp that piece of wood into place. This was 3/4 inch. Now all of a sudden I grab a 2x4, it auto adjusts. So that's really nice. I never have to tweak anything. I just put my workpiece in there and it sets itself to the appropriate height and depth for the material. So that's pretty cool. You do have to set the collar on the drill bit, but still removing a to-do from the process is really nice. It has dust collection capabilities from both sides, so I can pull this out and put it in over on the other side. It comes with another attachment, but this is the attachment I use for my hose on here. It is plastic construction again, but with hardened steel structures throughout, so hopefully that stands the test of time. There is some fold-out wings on here, and what these wings will do is support your material. So if you have a long piece of material on here, you now have a longer surface to keep it level on there. There are screw holes in here to be able to mount it to a table, but you can also, if you choose not to mount it to a table, you can rotate it like this to use with larger pieces of plywood and whatnot, which is, as I've expressed a couple times already, I like doing that because it's unwieldy when you have to have those pieces up in the air. So that's pretty nice. Now, I purchased the Pro model, which was basically $150, and you get a clamp that you can put in the back here to clamp it to the workbench, and you get these 2 plastic containers that are wings that go on the sides here, and they support material, but they're doing the same job that those plastic wings did for you. But honestly, these just get in the way. And so for $35, they're supposed to be able to fold up, but when you have the dust collection on here, which you always do, this is in the way. And when I rotate it forward, then they're in the way a lot. So I actually took these off a couple months ago and I haven't put them back on again. So probably save yourself some money if you're interested in getting this one. This one does not have a removable piece. So unlike that Going Make that I just showed you that can handle both a small compact space, this one is really meant for your big production type of stuff. So you're gonna have to buy like that Kreg R3 to go with this one as well. So you're probably, again, back up in the 150 range in order to be able to meet the same functionality that the Going Make one has. So some final thoughts. If you're looking to keep it as low as possible, I would look at the R3 from Kreg. This is as low as I would go, I think. I don't like some of the even cheaper models out there, but this one has served me well, and it is a good companion over to the 720 because this does not have a small detachable piece. You know, when you're thinking about sheet goods, this is about as big as you're going to want to go in putting something vertically in a clamping benchtop model. Anything bigger than this, you're really getting into problems with size. And so at least with this Kreg 720, you can rotate it. So you can slide it in here. That is acceptable. Over with the going make, you'd want to remove this, place it down. So while I'm not a huge fan of the location of the clamp handle on here, I thought about it some more and I was like, you know what? You shouldn't be putting a big piece like that up there anyway. So you're going to be using it in a clamp model at that point anyhow. So the 720, I think, is the top model on the market, consumer market, at $115 to $150 though, especially if you purchase this to go along with it. It is pretty expensive. So if you're looking for my pick as far as the best beginner jig, I would go with the going make, because at $60, you're getting a benchtop model as well as a removable, smaller, tight space model that you can use. And of course, it's milled aluminum construction, so you're not going to break this as easy as you are with plastics. Well, I hope you got some good information from this video. If you did, I hope you'll hit like and subscribe. That's what really helps me grow this channel. I want to say thank you to Going Make for sending this out for me for this video. Check out my link down below for their stuff. They make everything out of milled aluminum. It is quality and it's affordable, so that's why it's been very popular in some of my other videos. They are not a knockoff company. They do a lot of innovation with their products. So building it out of quality materials with affordability and good features is a win for most people. So check out the link down below on that. I hope you'll stay safe in the shop, and I'll see you in the next one.